Yeah, you gotta stretch out those intro muscles before you start recording videos. It's really important, guys. The last thing you want to do is pull an intro muscle when you're trying to start a tier list. It's real bad. I've been there before. I've been in the trenches. It's not a place you want to be. So make sure you guys take some time, stand up, stretch out a little bit, drink some water, take care of yourselves, alright? What is going on, everyone? My name is Jack. Welcome back to SkillCapped. We are rolling and moving and shaking through our episode 3 patch coverage once again. We are looking at the weapons in Valorant and ranking them from worst to best, D to OP, and everything in between. Patch 3.0 not only reshaped how we value abilities in Valorant, but many weapons received buffs and nerfs, as well as huge changes to the economy. There's a lot to go over, and if you haven't played in a while, Valorant is looking very different, so you won't want to miss out on this one. But before we get crack-a-lackin', we of course gotta do our question of the day. Today, we are asking you, how do you guys feel about the economy changes that came through in this patch? Of course, the economy is a core system in Valorant, so messing with it at all can have huge rippling effects on the game. For me, I think Riot hit the nail on the head. I feel much more conscious about how I need to spend on abilities and having to balance sacrificing firepower for necessary utility and vice versa. As for the weapon price changes that came through, I actually like most of them. The only one I have reservations over is the Operator, but we'll definitely be getting all up in that discussion shortly, so let me know your thoughts in those comments down below. Now, we got some universal weapon changes in patch 3.0, and I want to point those out before we get going, and we'll also be touching on specific weapon changes as they come up. In patch 3.0, Riot are trying to address run and gun from multiple directions. One of those ways is reducing a phenomena called tagging into accuracy. The long and short of it, when you are hit in Valorant, you are slowed down. This is called tagging. Previous to patch 3.0, tagging would knock you down to shift walk speed, and pretty much all weapons in the game were very accurate while shift walking. So, by being the person who's hit someone first but doesn't secure the kill, you've just hit your opponent into good accuracy from running, and this could cause that running headshot effect. To try and fix this, tagging now slows you slightly less, reducing your speed by 72.5% from 75%, and your weapon's dead zone has been reduced from 30% to 27.5%. Dead zone, for those who don't know, is the internal term Riot used to describe the speed at which you become inaccurate. Think of it as a ramp up. From a standstill, you are at 0% movement speed and 100% accuracy. When you start moving, your speed has to accelerate, and when it passes that 27.5% threshold, you are now at maximum inaccuracy. This works both ways, so this dead zone change means you become accurate slower when going from moving to a standstill or counter-strafing. The zone at which you are at maximum accuracy is smaller. Now, keep in mind, this is a pretty subtle change. It's hard to see it in-game, especially because random headshots happen all the time, but in theory, this should bring down the instances of this happening with the other major universal change. All rifles, heavies, and SMGs have had their walking, and in the case of SMGs, running and accuracy adjusted. Those values are on screen for you to see. I'll give you a second to absorb. Pistols were also adjusted, but all individually, so we'll cover them as we get to them. Sorry for all the pomp and circumstance here, let's crack into the tier list proper. Alright, here is the blank tier list. We're starting in the D tier. D, of course, stands for why are we here? Only to suffer? Because D tier weapons are just bad and don't offer you any significant competitive advantage. And our only D tier resident is the Shorty. This should surprise literally no one. The Shorty actually has no place in the game. Riot can change its price to be cheaper than most abilities, and that's still not enough. Listen, there's two routes for the Shorty at this point. One, a complete rework of the weapon. Redesign the pistol shotgun to be something else entirely that better fits the game. I have no idea what that looks like, but there's gotta be something. Two, the only way for the current Shorty to be a viable option as it exists right now is for it to be a zero-cost alternative to the Classic. You can select it in your armory as your starter pistol, and instead can buy a Classic for 150 credits. My only problem with that is giving players a free shotgun to corner camp with would probably get annoying. So maybe you have to make it take both shotgun shots to get a kill on full armor? I really don't know, but the Shorty needs something. We all agree on that. And just like the Shorty, maybe you need something to help you with your ranked viability. Now, we're no Riot, but we can help you buff yourself by accessing our complete improvement platform at SkillCapped.com. From agents, to guns, to map guides, learn how to sharpen your game to a fine edge at the link down below today. Moving on, we have the C tier weapons. C tier weapons are okay. Like, if you had to use them, it's not the worst thing by far, but the other options in the same price or use range tend to be far better. Starting it off, we got the ugly duckling of the SMGs, the Stinger. The Stinger prior to episode 3 was the very definition of just okay. Like if you wanted to buy a bigger frenzy, then it could work. Just full W key into the sun, don't let anyone stop you. But even then, it really didn't matter because the Spectre was just kind of better in every single way. So does that change in this new patch? Well, no. It's true that the Stinger's price has been reduced to 950 credits, that's nice, but that's about the end of the good stuff for the Stinger. See, as we just iterated in too much detail, Riot are trying to really curb run and gun. And what is the one thing that the Stinger did well? Run and gun. So now the run and gun Stinger strats are restricted to an even closer range, meaning if you need to fight at range, you need to stop moving and try and control recoil. Which at that point, just buy the Spectre. Now, obviously, we need to be careful here. Buffing the Stinger is a scary prospect, because not too long ago, it was torching the meta. Maybe things will be better if the Spectre catches a more proper nerf. Then the price and ease of use of the Stinger can be more appealing. We'll just have to wait and see. Our other C-tier entry is the other former eco-god that got absolutely bodied by Riot. I am of course talking about the Bucky. Alright, friends. We get analytical from time to time, we get into the stats from time to time, some real science stuff, real advanced, you know what I'm saying? But I don't even need none of that for the Bucky. The only reason this thing isn't the D tier is because by technicality alone, it is better than the Shorty. Like I only need to say one word for you to understand why you shouldn't use the Bucky. The Judge. Let's move on. Alrighty, here we are at the B tier. Our B tier weapons are okay, maybe niche if anything. Not everyone is going to use them, but the few who dare may find their unique advantages very, very attractive. Starting off strong, we have by far the best B tier weapon, and that's the Guardian. The Guardian continues to trend up and up in our opinion. Breeze was a massive step forward and sort of an eye-opener for most of the community. Not only is the Guardian viable, it can be used in a lot of different scenarios, and things are only looking better in episode 3. The reduction of ability spam and a nice price drop from 2400 to 2250 makes the Guardian an even more viable option when you are strapped for cash. You see, there's a brand new dichotomy in Valorant right now. For the first time, the economy has set up that you have to make some sacrifices when purchasing. Do you sacrifice firepower like Vandals or Phantoms for abilities in a quote-unquote weaker weapon, or do you sacrifice that precious utility for the firepower increase? And that puts the Guardian in a really good spot, because on certain maps, I don't mind dropping the Vandal or Phantom for Guardian and full utility. Moving on, we got another oddball eco weapon, and that's the Ares. The Ares is your cheapest option for sustained fire in the game, and it just got cheaper, losing a whopping, unreal, game-changing 50 credits off its price tag, from 1600 to 1550. I mean, god damn, I'm swimming in cash now. Riot hitting us with the buy one, get one for the same price type beat in terms of savings. Holy! But in all seriousness, what does the Ares offer? Well, it offers high volume of fire and decent mid-range damage output. It's kind of like a Bulldog with more bullets and a slower moving speed. It's very ideal for defense, especially on dense choke point maps like Bind, Split, Icebox, and even to a lesser extent Haven. Pick a spot, aim down sights if it's a bit at range, and then let the bullets fly. On offense, however, the accuracy changes really hurt LMGs a lot as a whole. Previously, both the Odin and Ares were strikingly accurate while walking and spraying. I mean, the proof is in the patch notes. The previous walking accuracy was a 0.5, now it's 2.4. That's over 4 times as inaccurate. It's the most drastic accuracy change, so make sure to treat the LMGs more like a rifle. You need to stop moving or counter-strafe for accurate shots. Rounding out the B tier, we have my personal favorite weapon, the Marshal. The Marshal is an interesting position in the current meta. Prior to the economy changes in this patch, I would have considered the Marshal to be very strong and underrated eco weapon, but the lay of the land has gotten much murkier. It's true that the Marshal is now cheaper, down to 950 credits, but there's a big operator-sized problem in this equation. We'll dive into this more when we get to the operator, but it's now extremely viable to purchase ops early into games. If you win the first and second rounds and play your economy right, you can buy an op as early as the third round. Which means the point of having an early game sniper seem rather pointless when the big boy can be easily saved up for. Does this ruin the Marshal entirely? No, I don't think so, because not everyone likes purchasing ops, so I can see someone wanting a light sniper but not having the full commitment to the full Monty of the operator on their shoulders. We're shaking and grooving on up the ladders. Our next up is the A tier. The A tier weapons definitely fall short of that near must-buy status you would see in the S tier and above. I like to think of the A-tier weapons as really good weapons that have more specific reasons to be bought over the seemingly superior and more generally useful options above them. Starting it off, we have the weapon that I unapologetically hated, but it's now got a new lease on life, and that's the Bulldog. Listen, I guess I'm a Riot dev now because I literally called it, dude. I wanted this thing to get a buff to its hipfire mode for literal ages, and they finally came through in patch 3.0. The Bulldog's hip-fire rate of fire has been increased from 9.15 to 9.5 rounds per second, and as a nice little handout, the Bulldog now costs that whopping 50 less credits down to 2050. That little change to the rate of fire has helped this thing feel so much better. It's now just ever slightly slower than the rate of fire of the Vandal, making the weapons feel very similar, and as a bonus, if you get pushed in close quarters, you can't literally count the time between your shots as the Spectre mag dumps you at Mach 1 like you used to, which I'm a big fan of. Thank you, Riot. Now, this town ain't big enough for the both of us. There can only be one sheriff in this town. And it's the one in Valorant, obviously. I don't know what you're talking about. Now, pistols as a whole, we're all individually tuned in terms of their walking and running accuracy, so we'll make sure to highlight those, but these changes don't overall change much about the sheriff. Here are those changes. In short, walking and running shooting with a sheriff is now a no-go. I personally never use the walk shooting too much, and if you're just AD strafe spamming the sheriff, I applaud your boldness. I think the sheriff is best when you are jiggling corners, counter-strafing, or holding angles to get that perfect one-tap. Overall, the sheriff is still a versatile eco-round threat in Valorant for those who take the time to hone their first shot accuracy. The potential to outduel the full bot enemy is definitely alluring when you have to save, but you have a little bit of that excess economy for a pistol. What else is nice is that the strategy we covered in a guide a while ago now, the sheriff pistol buy to get an early operator strat, is now much better because of the other economy changes. In fact, you op mains should be considering something like that on pistol rounds to maximize your operator uptime now that it's so much easier to do. Keeping the pistol coverage going, we have the 1B to the Ghost 1A, the Frenzy. The Frenzy remains the gold standard for aggressive pistol round play, and towards the end of episode 2, it was a question whether the Frenzy was in the running for the best pistol once again. The changes in patch 3.0 might have put a momentary halt on that discussion. Riot really wanted to add some drawback to the W key Frenzy as a strat, and as such, the running and walking accuracy of the Frenzy was increased heavily. With the running accuracy being doubled, this alone makes those crazy clips where players are sniping each other at decent ranges while at full speed way less likely to occur. As a compensation for these changes, the price of the Frenzy is being slightly reduced to 450 from 500, but that really doesn't affect any buys on pistol rounds because you still can't get light armor, so I don't know, this doesn't really change much. So what does this change for pistol round Frenzy? I would say actually not much. The real strength of the Frenzy, I think, is in those close range pistol engages where you can mag dump and mow down combatants. Ultimately, you can still tap fire the Frenzy with good accuracy at range, so I would expect Frenzy fans to take the time to master pacing shots and only turning to the steering wheel in appropriate ranges. Our last pistol participant placed into the A tier is the Classic. What to say about the Classic? I personally don't like it. I don't like fighting the right click or using it, but hey, this is about the metagame, not my bias. That would be a different video. The Classic is of course the starting pistol, so we all have to use it at some point, and if you're one of those elusive support players I hear so much about, you might even be forced to use the Classic because you chose to play for the team, whatever that means. The Classic's individual accuracy changes in this patch I think are aimed at that interaction where players are treating the right-click Classic as a super mobile shotgun and just running, jumping, and going for those crazy one-shots on pistol rounds. On screen here you can see a bit of just how much inaccuracy the Classic gets now when right-click and running. You really need to stop and employ counter-strafing or come to a complete stop to get the most out of your accuracy now, and that is a huge shift in general to how pistol rounds are typically played. Overall, the Classic still feels very strong, and with the Frenzy's range also being reined in, the Classic versus Ghost dynamic still reigns as the chief interaction on pistol rounds. Our final A tier weapon, dropping out of the S tier for the first time in a long time, is the heavy weapon to end all heavy weapons. Some call it Sasha. Who touched my gun? It's the Odin. Now, the Odin is a menace in the right situations. Few things match its time to kill, rate of fire, and nothing matches its volume of fire. But a major component of the Odin strats has been nerfed in 3.0. Odin gameplay relied on the incredible accuracy you could have at basically any range by walking and aiming down sights and holding down the trigger. Now, like the rest of us mortals, you have to be more stationary, which directly works against the Odin because the longer you lay down the fire, the easier it'll be for you to be forced out by utility or good teamwork on the other end. Don't get me wrong here, in the slightest. The Omen, did I just say Omen? Good lord, gotta love spelling mistakes. Sorry about that, guys. I now can't get the image of a breach holding an Omen off the ground while the Omen machine guns paranoias into the world out of my head. Ugh. Anyways, the Odin is still very powerful. It just isn't so simple to use like it's been for a long time now. And here we are, the hallowed halls of the S tier. These are the best weapons in the meta right now, be it the best pistols, the best eco weapons, or the best overall full buy weapons in the game. You'll be seeing and using these weapons a lot, so it's best to get familiar with them. Starting off the S tier, let's talk the two rifles, the duality of Valorant itself, the time-honored clickbait, Phantom versus Vandal. Despite being very even in terms of balancing, the community is constantly at war over which rifle is better, so is there some kind of statistical backup to prove that one is more dominant as of right now? Well, courtesy of Blitz.gg, we can see weapon stats for various ranks in comp and get an idea of what's going on. Now, there is one weird thing to point out when you go to Blitz and look at Immortal stats right now for this comp set, Episode 3, Act 1. The weapon rankings are weird and don't follow the norms of other ranks in this act or in previous acts, so I would assume this is because of there not being enough Immortal games yet to have been played to even out the distribution. The Guardian is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not better than the Phantom. But if we look at Diamond 3, and especially to Immortal in the previous act of competitive, we see a trend of the Vandal being the preferred rifle. So let's start with the Vandal. The Vandal is currently the reigning king of rifles, as we can see, but I want to get a bit philosophical as to why that is. We all know the strengths and weaknesses of the Vandal versus the Phantom. The Vandal has a slower rate of fire, one-shot kill ability at all ranges, less bullets in the mag, and better burst and tap fire accuracy. Whereas the Phantom is better at spraying, has more bullets in the mag, slightly faster rate of fire at the cost of no one-shot headshots on full armor players at range. The Phantom also has a silencer that comes with no bullet tracers and a limited range of sound. On paper, I would say that the Phantom has a slight edge in terms of benefits. There's a lot of smokes in Valorant, there's a lot of situations where being quiet is super beneficial, and those 5 bullets can make the difference between life and death. So why is the Vandal disproportionately used in ranked? Well, I think there's a few factors. Some of them statistical, some of them are psychological. Let's be real, we've all used the Phantom and hit only one shot on someone, dinked them, and then died. It hurts. It brings actual pain to my mortal being. But I'm still a Phantom main because I apparently am a masochist. But that alone is probably a turnoff to most players. The Vandal is loud, it's satisfying, and getting those one taps just pumps dopamine straight to your dome. It's also the easier weapon to learn to use. Learning to tap and burst is easier than the spray control you have to learn to get the most out of the Phantom. Lastly, before we move on, this is a bigger factor than I think most players are going to want to admit. We all want to talk the talk and be like, skins don't matter, I'll use whatever the best weapon is no matter what, which just isn't true. The Vandal definitely has better skins overall and some of the most iconic ones in the game, like the Reaver, the Prime, Elder Flame, that new one that came out like 3 weeks ago, I forget its name, the one that like splits apart when you inspect it. All of those drive hype for Vandal usage continually, while the Phantom took much longer to get really cool skins added. Minima is the best Phantom skin, fight me. Moving on, we touched on the Phantom a bit, so I'll keep this curt. The Phantom is a more than viable option, it just takes a different, more aggressive playstyle. Overall, I still stress that you should learn how to use both rifles, but pick one to main. You should only be buying one or the other in your games, don't flip-flop. Commit to learning the intricacies of the Vandal or the Phantom and incorporate them into your playstyle. Next up on the S tier train, we got the king of the pistols, your Ghost with the most. The Ghost. The Ghost has been the best pistol in the pistol round and a versatile eco round buy for time immemorial now, and in Patch 3.0, the Ghost is even stronger. So with the reduction in overall running and walking accuracy, it's now more important than ever to treat pistols more like rifles. Counter-strafing and stopping for full accuracy now matter much more, and in a game of accuracy, there are 2 standouts in pistol rounds, the Ghost and the Sheriff. The Ghost's rate of fire, suppressor, and mag size advantage make it by far the better option compared to the Sheriff. I feel like right now, while players are still adjusting to these accuracy changes, treating your Ghost on pistol rounds like a Vandal is going to win you a lot of interactions. So take advantage of that while we were in this period of adjustment. Keep in mind, like other pistols, the Ghost's running and walking accuracy was also made much worse. Moving on, we have the king of the eco, the Spectre. The Spectre has been dominating the low buy game for quite a while now, and most people were actually expecting a nerf to come through soon, and while indirectly nerfed due to the run and gun changes, do not underestimate the Spectre. It's still deadly and worthy of this S tier placement. Now, while the walking accuracy of SMGs has increased significantly on the whole, the change to running accuracy is relatively minor, so especially in close range engagements, the previous power of this monster is mostly maintained, but you do lose some of those crazy mid-range run and guns you would get in the previous patches. So, just adjust your playstyle. Even if you have to play like more of a rifle and counter-strafe, the power and ease of use of the Spectre is still unchanged. Its dueling with rifles inside of 30 meters is just as good, it's just an adjusted playstyle now. Rounding out the S tier, we have the first of 2 problem kids in the Valorant weapon meta. Let's start with the more obviously still obnoxious, the Judge. Now, take a look at this, if you will. Now, my good viewers, I believe this is what they call a Judge nerf, which is weird because it sure as hell hasn't changed anything about the Judge in the meta. Like, yeah, the amount of one-shot snipes is down, but when you can just go do-do-do-do-do-do-do, does losing out on one-shots really matter? The Judge is still omnipresent in pubs and pugs, it's an econ destroyer and so annoying to flush out when played right on defense. I just think the Judge teeters on the edge of overpowered, and really depending on my mood, I can see it both ways. I think the best way forward is a simple nerf to the Judge. Take away the full auto, make it semi-auto, and reduce the maximum fire rate. Make it so that people have to spam click, which can affect people's aim, and lower the rate of fire a bit, and I think we're in a much better spot. But hey, that's just me. Let me know how you deal with the judge in those comments down below. Come on, phone. And last but certainly not least, we have the operator. Now, I may be bold in saying this, but we are definitely entering an operator meta. Think about it. Abilities are reduced in their usage by economy changes and the introduction of KO. The operator got cheaper at the cost of 0 nerfs to its current effectiveness, and is now totally viable to run an operator as early as the 3rd round. It's pretty simple, really. If you win the first 2 rounds, you get 6,000 credits, plus whatever you get from frags and spike plants. And assuming you can get by with whatever pistol you use on the first round, plus maybe like light or maybe heavy armor if you really need it on the second, you can have enough for a full operator plus armor buy if you can save 5,700 credits. Or you go operator light armor at 5,100 credits, and anything you make over these 2 amounts is left over for utility. And that's like worst case, assuming you get 0 frags, by the way. Any frags you get is bonus room to work with, and considering most op users are duelists like Jet, you should be getting some work done in those first 2 rounds. All of this comes down to the fact that ops are going to be in the hands of players more throughout a game, earlier in a game, and therefore can have their game-changing impact more often. You need to be operator sturdy on the ladder right now, which means knowing how to smoke out common angles, use flashes, and take good team fights. An uncoordinated team could be chewed alive by a half-decent opper, and we've all had that happen. And just like our agent tier list, it's too early to see if anything is overpowered right now in the Valorant meta. I would say there's a good chance that the judge or op becomes oppressive over time, but as of right now, that's just conjecture. And here is our final tier list. Make sure to tell me yours in those comments down below. While you are down there, make sure to like the video and subscribe as well for more premium content just like this, with one goal in mind: helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped would like to thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.